This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Here on Money Moves as we welcome you back to the program, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158. Remember, as always, if you miss any of the show as well, you can download Money Moves in podcast form wherever you get your podcasts. Stormy Buonantony with you live in downtown Las Vegas. Our boy JVT out there in San Francisco, part of all of the Super Bowl 60 festivities. We'll be on Radio Row all week, getting a handful of different opinions and thoughts as people continue to siphon through. But we have an opinion from behind the counter we need to get to start this thing off with Chuck Esposito.
Going. Let's go behind the counter.
We're good, Chuck. We were just waiting for that open to go. But Chuck Esposito, Red Rock Sportsbook Director. How we doing, Chuck? A big week to say the least over there for you at the book.
Yeah, it is. It's Yay Sportsbooks, I guess I'll say first. Last week, a little bit the calm before the storm. We were in prop you-know-what, but the prop packets are done. We've seen some big bets come in. We're just excited about this week. It's always a fun time for us. We always talk about it. Hey, if you can't be in Santa Clara, there's no better place to be than one of our racing sportsbooks come this weekend.
Chuck, how about Nevada overall and what you've seen? You know, that was always a story before this thing opened up to the country, was the handle out here in the state. How has that been impacted over the last couple of years, or what are your expectations for it this year?
We've still seen a really strong handle, JVT. I think it's still that football game. I think the mobile app, our STN app, and all the props that are available, the live wagering piece, the alternates, the same game parlays really have helped add to the overall picture of what you see wagered on Super Bowl Sunday. This particular game, we opened 4.5. It did go up to 5 within the first 12 hours. Back to 4.5, though. Our larger wagers, our larger six-figure wagers have all been on the Patriots so far, but the public has been on the Seahawks. Right now, we're looking at about 67% of the tickets on the Seahawks, 61% of the tickets on the Seahawk money line. And although total has dropped a full point, it's a little bit Joe's versus pros. We've been as high as about 74.5% on the over. We currently sit at 72% right now on the over, but the game has dropped somewhat. So public is definitely on the over, but a little bit more sharp money on the under so far, guys.
And I feel like that's pretty par for the course in a game like this, right? The public likes the favorite and they like points and want the over. How do you feel about this game, Chuck? When you broke it down, how do you think things are going to shake out?
You know, I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you. I think, you looked at these two teams, and Seahawks, I think we had it sometime in early September, 100-1. The Patriots, 150-1. So similar to the college football championship game, you had long odds on the teams that were playing in the championship game. You have to remember the Patriots lost week 1 to our Las Vegas Raiders. But both teams play really good defense. I think the Pats defense is a little bit underrated. You look at Sam Darnold. He didn't play well toward the end of last season. This year he played great with Seattle, but he can be only the second quarterback to lead the league in turnovers and win the Super Bowl. In 2007, that was Eli Manning with the Giants. Patriots very young. Vrabel has been there. Right now I'm thinking kind of best case scenario might be game falls, Seahawks 1-4, or the Patriots win outright. But I think all the big action is going to occur probably starting on Thursday industry-wide, guys.
What about the money line, Chuck? How cheap do you think this gets on Seattle?
I don't know. The betting public hasn't loved Seattle, JVT. They bet against them in that playoff game against the Niners, even though the Niners were banged up. That was the case against the Rams as well. They're just not an overwhelmingly public team. Although we have seen some, that seems to be kind of the vogue thing now, is that money line wagers are way more popular than they were, say, 5 or 10 years ago. I'm really not sure if you see some big bets come in on the Seahawks where people are a little bit leery. Maybe they won't cover the number, but they can win the game. So right now we really haven't moved a lot on the money line. And as I said earlier, I still think the bulk of the action you're going to see, of course, is going to be later this week. I think both kickers are going to be critical. I could see, especially early on in the game, field goals being kind of paramount to get the early score going. But there's 30-something pages of props. The game within the game becomes bigger and bigger every year, guys. Makes up about 25% of the overall handle. I love seeing guests walk around the room with one of our colored prop packets. They may not like the Seahawks or Pats, but they're sure going to engage on these props.
Chuck Esposito, director of the Race and Sportsbook over there at the Red Rock in Summerlin. And let's talk about that prop packet a little bit because, yes, it's what everybody loves to do this time of year. There's only one game on the board, endless markets. What are some that you anticipate being the most popular by the time we get to kickoff?
They always love, Stormy, will the game go into overtime because of the yes price? Will there be a safety in the game because of the yes price? Will there be at least a defensive or special teams touchdown? All because of the yes price. But the one that's kind of getting a little bit of attention this year and a little bit of water cooler chatter is, will the Seahawks attempt a pass from on or inside the Patriots' 1-yard line? And you know why that one's on the board. It happened when these two teams met before, and of course they elected to throw instead of giving it to beast mode. Patriots intercepted in the end zone, and the rest was history. But there's just so many ways to bet the game right now. It really is the game within the game. There's over 30 pages of props. You name it, it's there. If it's player props, scoring, MVP. There's just so much on the board right now. But you just look at these two teams, and you have to wonder who's going to be that offensive stud. Is it Kenny Walker? Is it JSN? There's a host of guys on New England that it could be as well. So I think it really makes it interesting without maybe that marquee star on the offensive side of the ball.
Chuck, right now, some of the props that we're hearing in other shops that are pretty popular, Drake May's rushing yards, Kenneth Walker's out there too. Has there been a particular prop that you guys have been hit on pretty hard in the early going?
There's been some props, guys, that we've seen, a little bit uncharacteristic, more under money come in on a number of different props. And I think it's a product of these two defenses, having a very young quarterback in Drake May, having a quarterback in Darnold that does have the propensity to turn the ball over a bit. I think those factor in as well. But early on, I've kind of been surprised by the under that we're seeing on some of these props so far. But good handle. Again, everybody's looking at these packets, and it's going to be fun as the week moves on.
Any in particular to the under? I know one we were discussing earlier, Kenneth Walker, somebody who's been playing under with how well the New England Patriots run defense has been throughout the course of the year. Like any specific ones that stand out in your mind?
Yeah, there are just a couple, like Stevenson, first half rushing yards under in the first half. The one that's kind of jumped off on the overside a little bit, though, is Cooper Kupp. He seems to be a really popular guy, even at his price, to score the first touchdown, and he's kind of a guy that you're looking at from maybe a sentimental standpoint that's getting a lot of play as well. But again, guys, overall, this is kind of the week where we'll really be seeing what props they like over, what props they like under, and let them play it since everything's on the board right now, and this is going to be a fun week, not only for us, but, of course, our guests on the other side of the counter as well.
Over the years, Chuck, how much of your handle has shifted to in-game wagering during these Super Bowls? And what else are you guys offering during the game outside of just side and total?
Yeah, it's definitely much bigger, JVT, the live wagering aspect now, especially in a game like this, that it's not an outrageously high point spread. And if you have lead changes that occur, you tend to see a lot more wagering coming in on the live aspect of the game. Right now, again, we're kind of holding steady at 4.5. I know there's some 5s out there, kind of curious to see which way we get pushed. But depending on game flow, if it's a close game and some lead changes, I suspect we'll have a pretty robust handle on the live wagering aspect, which continues to be a bigger and bigger part every year.
Chuck, you've been doing this a long time, and last couple minutes with you, I am curious if there's any good Super Bowl betting stories you have, or brutal beats, or big wagers, like anything cool that comes to mind over the years that you've been doing this thing.
I can tell you two really quick, guys, and me being from Chicago and being a Bears fan, they both involve the Bears. I'll date myself a bit, but I was just getting into the industry when the Bears played in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, and I was one of those guys that kept bugging my boss about, hey, we have to put a Fridge Perry prop up. Well, we all know what happened. He scored. Not good for the industry, but little did we know it would propel prop betting to where it was today, where everyone's more outrageous, thinking outside the box. The other one, 2006, Colts Bears, Devin Hester to score the first touchdown, special teams touchdown, a number of props up with Devin Hester. Colts said they weren't going to kick to him. Dungy changed his mind the night before. They did, and as he returned that ball, that opening kickoff for a touchdown, it sounded like a jet took off in the sports book. And I think as an industry, we probably lost close to 7 figures in the first 19 seconds of the game. Outcome of the game was good, but that was a disastrous prop. But, hey, they were a lot of fun, and those are 2 really big memories that I have, both involving my favorite team, of course, the Chicago Bears.
Chuck, that's awesome. And you're on the phone with us, so you couldn't see JVT's fist pump for the Colts.
I'm sure. But the outcome was good for us. So overall, even though, the Bears run the opening kickoff back, we did need a Colt cover that day, and we did get it as an industry.
Awesome stuff, Chuck. Thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. And have a great Super Bowl 60 week.
All right. You guys, too. Always love jumping on with you. Thanks, and have a great week as well.
Appreciate it. And look, we've got the full pack here, the prop pack. Look at this thing. This is awesome.
There you go.
And those props that he mentioned off the top that bettors and that are coming up to the window, like the yes prices on. Will there be a safety in the game? 7-1 on the yes. Will it go to overtime? Also 7-1 on that price. This is a thick packet, dude.
What are the odds on heads?
Minus 103. So this is something that we need to talk about a little bit later on in general, though. DraftKings in particular, I was super disappointed in them to have the minus 103 price for them after they did even money last year. Because that's what it should be on a 50-50 proposition, no? We will discuss that and a whole lot more as we return here on Money Moves.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Monday edition of Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. And this special edition of Call Me Crazy But is brought to you by Upside. Download the free Upside app and earn real cash back every time you fill up. Promo code SPORTS if you want 25 cents back per gallon on your first tank with Upside. But let's get to it. Call Me Crazy But coming at you.
Put on your tinfoil hats.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. The whole world gone crazy.
For Call Me Crazy, but...
Let's dive right in on this Overreaction Monday. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. And I'm going to start with a Super Bowl theme here. Because, JVT, the Patriots offense this postseason is averaging just 18 points per game. It is the fewest by a team entering the Super Bowl since 1979. A stark contrast from what we saw from them, the nearly 30 points per game throughout the course of the regular season. 4.35 yards per play, fourth fewest by any team with 3 playoff wins entering the Super Bowl. 177.7 pass yards per game, fifth fewest all time. And all of this to put around the framework that it made me laugh a little bit to see how much Patriots backers have made the argument. Well, of course their offense has suffered. Look at the defenses that they have played. Look at the gauntlet they've had to go through. Well, call me crazy, but JVT, it's not going to get any easier with the number 1 ranked defense in the National Football League in the biggest game of the year in the Seattle Seahawks this week. I think it gets tougher sledding, not easier for the Patriots this week. We've talked about our affinity for Seattle in this game, laying the 4.5. I've looked at additional alt numbers, but I was even looking at the Patriots team total under 21.5, under 20.5. These things look really enticing to me based on just what I perceive the Patriots offense to be right now.
I think that you would be perceived to be a Patriots hater as well. That's what I've been told when I speak ill of the New England Patriots. So I don't want to invite any more ill will from anybody out there in Boston or the Boston Strangler, Chris Pissarro. We want to at least be even keeled here with what we're looking at with the New England Patriots. But I would tend to agree with you here at this point right now. I mean, look, New England and Drake May specifically have not played well. He seems to regress, I think, is a strong term because that implies that he is going to be this level of quarterback the rest of the way, which I think he's just run into some really good groups. And they do lack for some dynamic skill position talent. Look, you know me, Stormy. We've talked about this a ton. The Seahawks have been my team for a while now. Not that I went on a great limb. They've been a favorite for a while. But I think this team is great in all three facets. But specifically, this defense is going to be a problem for Drake May in the offense.
All right, where do you want to go for your first one?
Let's see, you mentioned it. We're going to have Super Bowl coverage all week, so I thought, for Call Me Crazy, I needed to branch out a little bit. We need to do a couple of things here. So yesterday, we see Florida get a 100-77 win over the 23rd-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. You call me crazy, but Florida shouldn't be 20-1 to win the national championship. I added them last week at 18-1. I will again invoke that this team is starting to figure some things out. By the way, shout out to the creep Todd Golden, who a couple of weeks ago, when we asked about this whole thing with Alabama and getting guys back in after they had left for the NBA, said, you know what, doesn't matter, we're going to beat them anyway. And they did by quite a margin. But Golden's starting to figure out this backcourt rotation. All of a sudden now, Stormy, they lose to Auburn at home a couple of games ago. You're like, well, this team might be cooked. No, they go and they rip off 2 beatdowns of South Carolina and Alabama. You dated back to the beginning of conference play. They are 7-1 in their last 8 games. This team has been tremendous, and they're starting to figure this thing out, I think, at guard. Xavier Lee's starting to get his minutes cut into. They're starting to bring this kid off the bench as well. Like, he is starting to figure out how this is working out. And in terms of impact on the court, Boogie Flan has been very good for them in terms of their net rating. I think Florida's front court is awesome. It is dynamic. They just got to figure out the back court. They're signs that they are. This team is going to be dangerous, and at 20-1, there's worse tickets to have in your portfolio.
Yeah, when I saw this in the rundown this morning, I had to do a double take in the odds board because it surprised me that 20-1 was still the price that they're at right now. And you think about that win over Alabama, you mentioned it, scoring 100 points with only 3 made three-pointers in the game. Like, think about what they've been able to do to get inside. They don't have the same team. They don't have the same three-pointing prowess that they had a year ago, and yet they are certainly built and in a position to potentially make a run here in the tournament defensively as well. 7th in adjusted defensive efficiency, 2nd in rebounding, 12th in defending the 2. They don't let teams be effective inside. Meanwhile, they have had so much success there. There's a lot of reasons to like this Florida Gators team, so I'm not going to fault you for that one bit on that 20-1. I'm going to go to something a little off book here, but call me crazy, but fake hair in sports really throws me off. And of course, this is fresh in my mind because of what we saw in the boxing ring with Jarrell Miller, who won the fight but lost his hairpiece over the weekend. I appreciated him being self-deprecating and laughing it off and sharing the story. But apparently he essentially melted his hair off with ammonia or something. Neither here nor there. Just if you knew that was going to happen, just go no hair. You know you're going to get hit. The sweat element of this alone comes into play in my mind. But this isn't just a boxing thing with the hairpiece. This is in the WNBA with a wig getting snatched off. Or I think about this from a jewelry standpoint as well. It always shocks me when I see NFL players with earrings that they're willing to tug on when they put their helmets on, or track and field runners and they've got a big giant blinged out chain that's bouncing on their chest when they're running when every second counts. I've never understood this in sports, like the hair, the nails, the jewelry, man or woman. I don't get it.
Yeah, so none of this I really mind as much as what irritates me to no end for some reason are 2 things, and they both have to do with kickers. The kickers that wear their wedding rings, and we saw a kicker, I think it was in college football, he was wearing an Apple Watch at one point, and also kickers that wear gloves. Those are absolutely unacceptable.
Okay.
You're not doing anything, my man. You can leave that off. All the rest of this stuff, it's fine, it's whatever. But to your point, and you stole my text message to you guys earlier this weekend, which was, did he not think he was going to get punched? I mean, this was incredible that he thought he was going to pull this off, but it got pulled off. So I'm amazed that he thought that this was going to go well.
I just think even, like I said, the sweat element of this, right? That is not a man who doesn't perspire. You know what you're putting yourself at risk for in this. And our producer, Justin, even said in my ear, fake eyelashes in UFC. You're getting smashed in the face. Why do we care what our face looks like? Not that much. I don't know. Okay, what's next on your list? Sorry, I went off the rails here.
All right, call me crazy. Let's Babe Ruth this thing. Tomorrow we have a pretty good college basketball slate. I'm going to call my shot. Call me crazy, but Miami, Ohio goes down tomorrow. Look, This team has been great. Their offense is tremendous. They're playing at a breakneck pace. They are leading the MAC right now in tempo. They're a top 50 team in terms of tempo. They are fourth in the country in effective field goal rate. In conference play, Stormy, two things stick out to you. Effective field goal percentage against MAC opponents, they are shooting 60.5%. 2-point shots against MAC opponents, they're shooting 65.2%. This is incredible. They're taking over 48% of their shots from beyond the arc, and they are nailing them at such a high clip. And look, you get done against Northern Illinois, whatever. Northern Illinois stinks. You had a couple of overtime games. You failed to cover against UMass, but now you get Buffalo. You got to go on the road. Bulls can play relatively well. They're not a good defensive team, but they're the third best MAC offense. This is going to be a tricky spot. Should be around a 5-point spread or so. Give me the Bulls. I think they're going to catch them tomorrow.
Hey, the undefeateds are starting to go down. We saw Nebraska now lose back-to-back games.
Yep.
Vandy, after the hot start they had, is falling apart. Maybe Miami, Ohio is just next on the list of contenders to go down. And contenders, that's an interesting trade. Undefeateds. Arizona's still alive, but I don't know if you've looked at their schedule. After OK State this week, they've got a gauntlet in the Big 12 ahead, too. So, yeah, I'm not going to call you crazy. It could be... It's hard to imagine any of these teams actually going the distance, let alone Miami of Ohio, for as impressive as the start of their season has been. I got one more on the ice. Call me crazy, but the Florida Panthers aren't making the playoffs. And this isn't a hot or a bold take, considering the odds right now where they're plus 115 to make, minus 135 to miss. But I've been seeing a lot of stuff right now as we approach the Olympic break about who's true contenders or not to make the cup. And many lists have the Florida Panthers on it as contenders still. And I get that they've earned the benefit of the doubt for what they've done the last few years. They're the defending cup champs. But a big reason why, JVT, I bet their point total under in the preseason was because I felt like they were going to be a bit spent. And then you have no Sasha Barkov. You miss Matthew Tkachuk for the bulk of the season. This isn't a year where they could have afforded to be in cruise control early and just kick it into gear as you get closer to the postseason. They've really cost themselves. They entered tonight's game with Buffalo on a 3-game skid, all to teams with fewer points than them. 8 points out of the wild card, 10 points behind third place Montreal with a game in hand. 8th most difficult schedule remaining as well with 28 games left. I just do not see it for this Florida Panthers team. Call me crazy, but I don't think that they're in.
I wouldn't call you crazy, and let's build on this because you mentioned the Buffalo Sabres. You call me crazy. This team can win the Eastern Conference, man. I mean, I was looking over their profile, and you look at what they've done, obviously, but they're a legit threat to win the East right now. They're 12-1 to do so. They're a top 10 scoring offense in terms of points per game, goals per game, They are one of the better penalty kills. I didn't realize that. I think they're 8th in penalty kill percentage at this point right now, too. They've got some decent talent between the pipes as well. Why can't this Sabres team at 12-1 in a stupid sport like hockey get hot here and win this Eastern Conference? They've got all the talent and some of the profile to do it as well.
Yeah, they're for real, JVT, and maybe we can react a little bit more to this on the other side because we do have Puck Around and Find Out this hour. But for a season that they started as injury-riddled as they were, 11-14-4 to start the year, what they have done the last 6-7 weeks is absolutely real at this point, especially those 5-on-5 metrics. They're operating at the same level of as Colorado or Tampa at even strength. That said, remember, everybody, if you are filling up your tank any day, which I know all of us do, you might as well be getting paid for it. And with the free Upside app, you can earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Just download the app from the App Store or Google Play Store. Check nearby offers and start earning immediately. Use the promo code SPORTS. That'll get you an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill-up. Drivers are earning $200 to $300 a year just from normal gas purchases.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. And we are keeping tabs on the Pelicans and Hornets right now. Some live action in the NBA, always fun. Pel's up 19-15 right now with a couple minutes to go in the first quarter. And JVT, I don't know if you saw it, but I'm shocked that LaMelo Ball avoided concussion protocol because he and his coach go freaking head-to-head on the side of the court. Just absolute bashing in the slow motion. It did not look good. So he exited the game for a time, which allowed New Orleans to pull ahead with this lead. But he is back on the bench and looking available as of now, which is a good sign.
I did not get to witness it, but I will say that we'll keep an eye on it. This is what we talked about here, whether or not this is going to be the peak of the market for Charlotte in terms of the point spread. Closing is about a 7-point favorite. So something to watch. And as much as LaMelo statistically is not on par with some of his cohorts there, he is part of the lineup that is the most effective in the association right now. So very much looking forward to seeing if this team continues. Again, much like the Mavericks game the other night, the good result would be, don't cover, but win the game, please.
Yeah, it looked like Charles Lee was trying to grab a ball that was going out of bounds, and LaMelo was too, and they just totally collided face to face. So tough one there. That said, there is a phrase says, mess around and find out. Well, we have that in the hockey world as well as we shift gears here to a little NHL time for Puck Around and Find Out. Graphics now, JVT. Very exciting stuff. I did want to react a little bit more before we get into today's card with what you said about the Buffalo Sabres being a true contender in the East right now. Going through some of their numbers, I mentioned how they started the season 11-14-4. They're playing like one of the best teams in the league right now, 24-1 their last 25. They're 3 points out of second in the Atlantic Division, fourth on the board now to win the Eastern Conference. And that 12-1 that you mentioned on them in the East, I feel like would be shorter if they had a different logo on their sweaters. That said, I am curious your opinion on the we haven't been there before element, because the Sabres are a team that is riding a 14-year postseason drought. It is hard to believe that what we've seen from them is real just because of what we are so accustomed to seeing from the Buffalo Sabres over the years. They have had moments even on this stretch where if they do build a lead, they go MIA for a period or two, let the other team claw back in. Are those things that we should be concerned about with a team like this if we do like them and want to back them moving forward?
I don't think so. I mean, you know me and how I operate with these sort of things. I mean, look, man, just because the, 2009 Buffalo Sabres or whatever it is, how long is it? You know what I'm saying? Like, just because that team didn't make the postseason, now the 2026 version isn't, I just don't think that's probably the case. And you look around all over the place in sports and find that that's going to be something. You had a great stat, if you could reiterate it one more time, because with them on even strength, I didn't realize how good it had been, but their even strength numbers have been incredible here. Why would we not believe in what the data is telling us, what the returns are telling us, which is this one of the best teams in the conference? Yeah,
I am a little bit concerned with the power play, though, but because they've been so great 5-on-5, it's covered it up. They are 18th in the league in power play percentage, and I think if in order to be a serious contender, you do need to be better in that area. But they're fourth in the NHL in goals per 60 5-on-5. They are dominating 5-on-5 at the pace of the Colorado Avalanche and the Tampa Bay Lightning, which was the info I gave out last segment. That's stunning if you are somebody who's watched a lot of Sabres hockey over the course of the last handful of years. So I am a believer in what I have seen lately. I've really enjoyed betting this team. Their team total overs, their game overs, the money line prices, they've been good. Today, I stayed off of this game. I wouldn't fault anybody for wanting to play them again, especially with the Panthers reeling a little bit here and dropping 3 in a row. That was a game I stayed away from. But big picture, I do think Buffalo is a team that is going to be a fun one to watch down the stretch and can contend when we get to the postseason. Just the fact that they're more than a $3 number to make the playoffs right now is awesome.
Yeah. Well, and let me ask you, because the one thing I wanted to get clarity on, you mentioned the power play has not been good, but their penalty kill has been very good. I believe I ranked them at 8th in terms of penalty kill percentage. So that balance in terms of overall team success, have you seen teams who struggle to that degree with the power play but are very good at killing those penalties actually have some success in the big picture? Is that a good enough balance for you?
I think it's a decent balance, and like it's awesome that they are at least one half of their special teams is having the success that it is. And again, the 5-on-5 metrics being the bulk of how you're going to play is most important. But I think for teams that want to go over the edge and be able to win some of those critical games in the postseason, you need to have a more effective power play. So it is a bit of a wash, but if you want to go over the edge, I think that you need to be better in that area. So we'll see how it looks when we get there. I do think that it's an important layer. That said, as far as the games go today, only 2 that I have action in. One I really, really like, so I want to make sure we get to this, and it's the Canadians and the Wild. I am on the full game over 6.5 and the first period over 1.5, and you know that's an angle we've played in a handful of games this year. If you like the game to be over, you probably are going to like the teams that score early and often as well. It is juiced a little bit in the first half, around minus 140 and higher, depending on where you look, so definitely shop around to get the best number there. Minnesota went over this total themselves over the weekend against Edmonton in a 7-3 win. They've had 9 of their last 10 games with 7+ combined goals on a 16-2 run to the over. The goals tend to come early, a 9-game run with first period overs in 12 of their last 14 JVT. The last time we saw these two play on January 20th as well, it was a 4-3 game where we saw that first period go over with 3 combined goals. This Wild team, and I was talking about this off air with Mike Palm the other day, that I liked in the preseason at a 40-1 shot to win the Stanley Cup, thinking maybe this could be a year for them to make a little bit of a push. Since they've added Quinn Hughes to this roster, have just had a different dynamic for them, especially what he can bring on the back end offensively. In addition to actual goal scoring, the Wild's shots on goal, shot attempts, expected goals, all have gone up, even the even strength goals per minute. So like a lot of these underlying stats that you're looking for, the Minnesota Wild are producing in, and have just had this uptick since Quinn Hughes joined the picture. On the Montreal side of this too, more trends that support this, full game totals with 7 of their last 8 with at least 6+. I was hoping that we were going to get Sam Montembeault in net. It looks like it's going to be Dobish again. Even still, though, going through his recent games, giving up 3 goals per game since the calendar flipped to January, with at least one of those goals in each given up in the first period in 5 of those 6. 4th in the NHL in goals per game. Both teams with top 8 power plays, but bottom 9 penalty kills. I feel like everything in this game is just telling me we're going to get an over, and hopefully that first period as well.
All right, I like it. I need to ask you about one game in particular. I don't want to say our Ottawa Senators, but the Ottawa Senators. Well, you go back to, so we talked about the spot, right,
They're
that Vegas was in taking
annoying.
on Ottawa. They are. Well, since that time, since they blew out Vegas, they've won 3 straight. Linus Ullmark came back the other day, so now they have they're a little bit stronger, I guess. Maybe they don't hate him. But I bring this up because they're road favorites here against Pittsburgh, and we haven't really seen this budge. They opened up like $1.15. It's upwards of $1.18 or so. Pittsburgh's been playing extremely well. They're on this wild winning streak that's a little bit longer than what the Senators are going on. I don't know about who's starting in goal here for Ottawa, but I am curious to see a team that was skidding at one point, now having won 3 straight, laying a price on the road against a Penguins team that you talk about some of the returns, at least in terms of the win column. This team continues to churn out victories.
Yeah, Ullmark only gives up the 1 goal on Saturday, and it looks like he is the confirmed netminder today once again. Okay. On the Penguins side, looks like we're going to have Silvos for them, so no Skinner in net on that side, so maybe that's at least part of why it's, I mean, although he gave up a handful of goals to the Rangers the other day, so I don't know what to really think of him at this point. That said, the Penguins have been on a nice little run here, JVT. So what is this, 6 straight now that Pittsburgh has gone on a run? In addition to, the Senators are just, for me, an untrustworthy team, but I could see them maybe like a team total over situation, or, I mean, I don't want to lay a favorite number with them on the road ever. So this price isn't something that I would want to back. But I don't know. I didn't have a play in this game at all. They're just such an up and down team for me. I have trouble, and you've noticed that, especially with the way I thought that they were going to perform in that Golden Knights game. But maybe that's more of a Golden Knights problem than a Senators problem. I don't know how you see it. Vegas absolutely reeling right now.
Yeah, I mean, well, we've talked about this. I think Vegas is a little fugazi at the top of the division anyway. It's why I added the Oilers to win that thing last week when we were last together, considering that I felt like there was going to be some sort of slide. I mean, they have a goaltender problem at this point, Vegas does. So we'll see if that continues. And I'd like to point out, they're not our team, they're mine, even though any single NHL future I put in so far is a kiss of death. But my Red Wings have lost 3 straight now, and they get the Avalanche today. So I'm very much hoping, as a very big dog, that trend continues today.
Although Avalanche, speaking of teams that are reeling, they haven't really been putting much effort out there on the ice lately either. But you're right, they are a big favorite today at home, minus 192. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I gotta say, that East looks kind of like almost set, doesn't it? Like these teams that are kind of in the lock and playoff spots. I think the last wild card 6 points ahead of the team outside of it. So this Eastern Conference seems to be solidifying, at least in terms of the playoffs.
Well, and even if that does end up being true, though, the East looks like an absolute gauntlet compared to the Western Conference. So that goes back to your Buffalo Sabres thing, though. I'm like, it is a crowded East when all is said and done. Although, also, as we talk about it being Super Bowl week, it's Super Bowl week on Profit X as well, from same-game parlays and player props to Super Bowl props and more. Profit X has you covered. Don't forget to take advantage of their 20% purchase match before the big game. When you sign up now, use Profit promo code for Profit X, VSIN. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network.
Earlier, and then it kind of fell to the wayside, but I do want to bring this up again as a gripe that I have with DraftKings Sportsbook ahead of Super Bowl 60 as we welcome you back here to Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. The fact that they last year did even money on the coin toss, and this year we're back to the minus 103. Some other shops you see minus 105 on what is literally a 50-50 proposition, and everyone knows that. So that's like my big issue with betting the coin toss, for as fun as it is. And I do have all of the background numbers for those of you at home that I can hit on in a moment in terms of how this is played out year after year and yada, yada, yada. But JVT, am I wrong in that? We should not be betting this prop just because mathematically we know it is wrong to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of known, but who cares? I want to cash something in the first 5 minutes. Let's go. I'm down. And besides, I think what you're ignoring, in certain instances, there's a lot of different ways that we can break these down. There's a lot of data analytics with all the stuff that we're looking at. But sometimes there are some really tried and true mathematic formulas that you really can get to. And there was one I was reading about the other day where if you take the concept of what a coin is and you actually look at the dynamics of it, especially the ones that they use, and you look at tails and versus heads and the logos that are on either side, the way that it's weighted, if you look at some of the analytical outcomes, it comes out to tails never fails. And so that's how you bet.
Obviously. For the tails never fails crew, I will say, though, 28 heads, 31 tails historically, and that has been the right side.
Well, that's nearly 50-50.
Over the course of the last decade, 8 of the last 12 have been tails, including last year.
Wow. So heads is due?
So it's all about the weight. It's all about the weight. There are other options that you can bet as well, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I mean, if you really truly broke it down, and if you actually did look at like the logos, and if it was a little bit more raised on one side, and if the weight was like a little off, wouldn't the weight was different for one side or the other, wouldn't theory then maybe there is a slight more probability for one side or the other? That's what I'm saying. If you got your hands on the coin and you could accurately weigh and measure and look at it, couldn't you think that even if it's like an infinitesimal data point of whatever 0.0000001% chance, isn't that an edge?
Hypothetically, and hey, listen, aren't we always looking for that extra edge, no matter how minuscule it may be? However, the coin changes every year, so it's not like that would still give you the historical data that you're looking for. That said, while we have minus 103 sides for heads or tails, it's minus 105 for the team to win the coin toss. You can pick Seattle or New England to win it. The Patriots 3-8, winning the toss in their 11 Super Bowl appearances. Seattle 3-0. The NFC also, oddly enough, has been historically. This is what I said. I got you covered, JVT, because I know how much you love this. I wanted to make sure that I brought it all for you. I saved it to the last segment, okay? The NFC has been historically dominant, though. 37 wins to the AFC's 22. You can bet, will the team that won the toss win the game? Yes, no. You can bet, will the team that won the toss receive or defer? 9 of the last 11 Super Bowls, the team that won the toss went on to lose the game. The 2 winners, coincidentally, were both Kansas City, but not last year. Obviously, they won the toss, but lost the game. So that's all. Those are all the fun facts I have for you on the coin toss, but pretty good now.
What's the link to teams that elected to defer and also their record?
I don't have that one off the top of my head.
Come on.
Unfortunately. I can try to get that for you. I can
bring
that for tomorrow. Well, what did you bring to the table for the coin toss? You got a nada.
I mean, I just gave you like a full breakdown of tails never fails.
you're dead to me. Tomorrow, I will have all of your Gatorade information that you need. We can also get into the national anthem this week, of course, but that's another one that is like a questionable prop to do because not everywhere is going to grade it the same, and you can't do it at typical U.S. Like there are, in Canada you can do it. On Call Sheet they have stuff available. What was your ooh?
Well, it just hit me that in the next couple of days as well, I will prepare because I believe Derek Stevens last year enjoyed my breakdown of the halftime show and the potential that we might see there. So as you know, I do enjoy a little bit of Babuni, so I will be looking forward to breaking that down as well.
I did not realize that the Grammys were yesterday until I saw Super Bowl halftime performer Bad Bunny wins Album of the Year. That I was like, oh, okay, I guess that happened. So there you go. You'll have to get me warmed up on that.
The only reason I remember every year when the Grammys are is because the Lakers have to go on that long road trip. And that's like the Grammy road trip that they have to take. It's like 7 or 8 games. That's the only reason I always know when they're happening. Okay,
that checks. That said, last couple minutes here. Let's get to our betting weekend recap and look ahead to what we've added to the account today. For me, it was a decent weekend. Ending things off on Friday. We got our Blue Jackets money line there. We were talking about that St. Louis team total over 82.5 versus Dayton. They went over 100, and the spread was even never in doubt in that one. And for all of my freakouts about how nobody agreed with me on the Pistons, they end up winning outright, taking on the Warriors. Kent State plus 11.5 didn't get there for me at Akron, but a 3-1 day to end our week last week. We'll see if we can get off to a good start here. And JVT, I did add a few things to the account on Seattle. We've been talking about it multiple times throughout the show. I laid 4.5 on the spread. I also laid a couple alt numbers at 7.5 plus 140 and 13.5 at plus 250. And then George Halani over 10.5 receiving yards, which I was mad at myself because I brought this up on Friday at 8.5 and I didn't bet it. Then it was 10.5 over the weekend, and so I finally jumped on board. I'm even seeing some places that are out to 12.5 yards now, but we had this conversation earlier with Corbin, who covers the Seattle Seahawks, about kind of the Zach Charbonnet not being available. Kenneth Walker is the workhorse guy in the backfield, but one area New England is really effective is their run-stopping unit, and Halani was utilized well in the NFC Championship game in the pass game. He actually ran more routes than Kenneth Walker did. One fewer route than Kenneth Walker did, and so for somebody who had such a differential in their touches share to be utilized that much in the receiving game, a Patriots defense that has at times struggled, 2 pass-catching running backs. Maybe that's an area where Halani could have success. I mentioned last segment the Canadians in the Wild. Full game total over 6.5, as well as the first period over minus 140 on that over 1.5. And then I'm also rolling with the Islanders on the money line, plus 117 in Washington, taking on the Caps. I like them as a road dog and a bounce-back spot after a heartbreaker to Nashville. Washington, maybe a little bit of a letdown spot after the overtime win against the Canes. They have not had a good January. Goalie number 3 for Washington as well, with Clay Stevenson in net. Logan Thompson still hurt. Charlie Lindgren, we learned this morning, is out at least these final few days before the Olympic break. You're getting a slightly better number on New York because there's no Ilya Sorokin today. It is a Rittich day. He cashed for us the other day against the Rangers. We'll see if he can do it again.
If only there was a visual medium in which I could track all of these wonderful plays on our show.
What are you talking about?
Did you put your play? I didn't see the graphic. I was waiting for the graphic. I wanted to see your plays all up on one list. But
I did. I put them in the rundown today. So hours before.
Dang it!
So I cannot be
just giving you crap.
No, I'm tired of the way that you treat me about this, because I have been working really diligently to try to include them early. Go, do your best.
See that, crew? You see how mad she got?
It's so good that you're long distance. It's so good that you're long distance today.
Can't physically assault me. Kent State plus 11.5 over the weekend. Did not get there. We rode together there on Friday. The additions for today: Seahawks minus 4.5 for the Super Bowl. I had some alt lines as well, like you did too. I'm just kind of hunting around to see where these are ultimately going to end up. But we'll throw in the Seahawks, and then we'll go with Drake May's rushing yards under the 37.5. Talking to some folks out here, just kind of thinking more about this game plan, Stormy. I do think a big part of this is going to be containing Drake May. He has burned so many teams in this postseason alone with some of those scrambles, those third downs, second downs, obviously evading some pressure. I think this is going to be a really big part of what the Seahawks are going to try to do, contain him in this pocket. You should be able to generate pressure. He has some escapability as well. But I think you're going to be able to focus in on keeping this dude inside of the pocket and not allowing him to beat you with your legs. And it's been bet up so much here. So we'll give it a shot. We'll go Drake May under 37.5 rushing yards, kind of tying into if he's got a quiet game on the ground, I would expect that leads to a Seahawks victory. So tying in some of these props together, which will kind of be the whole goal of the props portfolio by the time we get to the end of the week. So Seahawks minus 4.5, Drake May under 37.5 rushing yards.
Okay, last minute before we go, what can we expect from you out there at Radio Row throughout the course of the week?
I mean, we're going to talk to everybody. We had a couple of good interviews already today, which I think we'll play a little bit of tomorrow as well. Our folks over at Sumer Sports, that was actually a fun one too. So we're going to talk to some of those. We talked a little Sumer brain, Stormy. You know you like that. And we got a couple of others set up as well throughout the week. And for those who haven't been out here, it's just kind of a hodgepodge. It's a big deal. You know, people just walk up and start talking to them. So we'll have a ton of content out here as we get closer. And some of these athletes will come out Wednesday and Thursday. We'll get some of those. And Dustin Sweetelson will be on the scene as well. So we'll get some guys with him. We'll play some of his thoughts. But looking forward to just picking the brain of a lot of people to see what they're going to think about Super Bowl 60 and some more as well.
Yeah, JVT, for somebody who is like as old fogey and anti-AI as I am, that Sumer brain stuff is pretty sweet. So I look forward to that conversation coming up tomorrow. We'll hit that and obviously so much more. Plenty of NBA, plenty of NHL on deck throughout the course of the week. But Super Bowl 60 is upon us, and we've got you covered on all bases across the network, including next, even though we are done, Follow the Money with Mitch and Paul. Got you covered for the next 3 hours.